Welcome back to Fire Emblem the Blazing Blade. Last time, we found out that things are getting really bad. Lundgren's takeover is progressing, and to the point where he has branded Kent insane traitors and Lyn an imposter and trying to turn everybody against us. We need to get to Lyn's grandfather as soon as possible. We've also found out that some of the old knights that Kent insane knew have sided with him. Lyn and her friends have been branded as traitors, pretenders to the throne. Lundgren has sent word to Kaelin's neighbors, warning them of Lyn's approach. I always love this shot of, like, all the soldiers just spreading out across the map. He calls for reinforcements to put an end to the imposters. If the other realms of Lycia choose to act, Lyn will never reach Kaelin alive. Lyn places her faith in Eliwood and waits. Another ominous chapter title here. But this music doesn't really indicate a grim reunion, it indicates a really, happy reunion. Laus? Laus is a name that's a little familiar to me, and Catholic as well, and, I don't know much about Toscana and Tania, but I do know Santaruz. A few of these are places we'll be visiting later in the story, but some of them are really just there for flavor. They won't interfere. So they're not against us, but they're not exactly with us either. Yeah, they're just still neutral. So we are pretty much on our own, ultimately. It's really weird seeing Eliwood's map sprite as a green unit, but I guess that's what he is here, because they all promise to remain neutral. I like how the sky is grey here. Oh, yeah. We had to have this tutorial before we finished tutorial mode, didn't we? Yeah, this is Fog of War. Path is to the south. That runs through General Eagler's castle. Does he have a lot of eagles or something? Okay, yep, that's all we get. So if we check the map here, now I actually like this idea that, like, you get to see the map on battle preparations before the fog starts. So you get a bit of an idea of where everything is, because also this is like the biggest, most open map we've had so far. And a lot of the dense terrain is clustered in here, so there's a lot of the map is very open. However, there aren't a lot of enemies in the map yet, but there are a bunch of forts in the mountains, so... and one there, so we'll be dealing with a lot of reinforcements. Also, oh hi! Eagler on the map as a red unit. Obeys Lundgren's orders. Well, we know who's gonna not be supporting us. Yeah, and he's our first paladin we're encountering. So, he has a javelin and a hand axe, and pretty good weapon ranks, and he has some of the highest stats we've seen so far. So, how are we going to fight against him? Well, the Manikadi is effective against horseback units, at least. And that's the only effective against horseback units weapon we have right now. So, Matthew is available again, and in fact, you really want to deploy him in this map. I think they kind of alluded to what thieves can do. I may have already mentioned it in my bio for Matthew that he can see further in Fog of War, which is what we're going to be needing. So, Lucius, this is actually quite a good time to train some characters, like get some last-minute experience in, because, there are going to be a lot of reinforcements. So, let's give the Lancer Reaver over to Lyn. I'm actually running kind of low on the Manikadi, I just realized. I may have actually taken my advice too well, because I need to save some, because the end boss of Lyn mode is also armored, so I'll want to use that against him. I mean, it's pretty obvious who the end boss of Lyn mode is, but still. I think I'll give a vulnerary over to Sarah, because I don't want to have too many full inventories here. And in terms of formation... yeah, you'll want Matthew to be in maybe a kind of central location, because I do sometimes like to split into two groups for this map. And on that note, let's see. Kent... Okay, Sane's really behind in levels. There will be archer reinforcements on this map eventually too, so... Okay, maybe I should send Florina and Wrath up in the north, and if you're training, like, one of the magic users, I'd recommend putting them, like, somewhere down here, because there are some reinforcements that are good for them to fight against. And I suppose I can have Nils around the bottom part? Because here's the thing. This is not going to be our entire entourage for this chapter. And, well, okay, before we can think about any of that, it's this guy! He just, like, how exactly are you stealthy in that kind of armor? But yeah, this is Lord Wallace. Anytime that I think about the name Wallace, I think about the William Wallace campaign from Age of Empires, and therefore I picture this guy with a massive Scottish accent.
Wallace has come.
But sadly, he doesn't sound like that in Heroes. His Heroes voice is pretty cool, though. I am, and I was. I used to be a farmer, but then Lord Lundergunden came and, yeah, everything changed when he attacked. Well, yeah, you're old enough to probably be very familiar with Madeline. Yeah, this theme actually hit me quite a bit when I first played, but it's actually a remix of the Bittersweet Victory theme from the first Fire Emblem. But these days, I think starting with this game, it became like a Knight's Oath, and it also got an incredible remix in Path of Radiance. Oh yeah, Wallace is great. Wallace is like the archetypal, I think TV Tropes calls this kind of character Boisterous Bruiser. Wallace definitely fits that bill. Yeah, this was kind of spoiled by the fact that he was a blue unit on the map when he showed up. Probably should have been green, but still. Well, that was easy. Kind of just automatically recruited himself. And it's a good thing that he did, because he is our tutorial for this map, other than Fog of War.
I was retired and work in the fields, and now I can hardly believe I've returned to battle.
So, our orders are, he is a level 12 knight. He can rise as high as level 20. Most units can change classes once they reach level 10. This is colloquially referred to as promoting in the fanbase. They can improve all of their abilities. Movement range, constitution, yep. Some of the only ways to improve movement range and constitution in this game. With a single action, you can make your unit significantly more powerful. In order to change classes, they need to be above, like level 10 or above. You also need a special item. And unlike in future games, there's no universal, well, there is a universal promotion item, but it's like a rare commodity. There are class-divided promotion items. So, Armor Knights and Cavaliers promote with a Knight Crest. Yeah, as it says here, Cavaliers and Knights. Each character class has its own item, yep. Why don't we try changing classes now? So here's the thing, okay? They're gonna force us to promote Wallace. So Wallace is right here. He actually has some pretty solid stats already, but he has a Knight's Crest in his inventory and a weapon that he can't use. And if we try and stop this, we can't stop it. Now, there actually is a button combination you can enter to break out of tutorials. And if you do that, I'll put the combination on the screen here, and if you do that, you can actually skip this promotion. But there is a more convenient way to skip promotion, which I'll explain after I've done this. Hopefully not eyes like Eagler. So, this is the promotion tutorial. You are forced to use this on Wallace. I like how the notes in the music kind of synced with the stats going up. Also, this line that's about to... Yeah, I love that line so much. So cool. So, like, the first time I played it, in fact, I think this probably really influenced my choice of YouTube channel avatar and my favorite classes. That's another great line. Come, break your weapons against me! So, Wallace is super, super strong right now. 17 defense. You can't hurt him. You can't hurt him. Eagler with the javelin can't hurt him. He can, I think, with the hand axe. Yeah. So, I'll talk about how I feel the game handles the promotion chore in a moment, because there's one other thing about Wallace that I need to point out. And for that, I'm gonna make a suspend point here, and load another one that I prepared earlier. If you are playing on Lyn Hard Mode, because there's no tutorial, you're not forced to promote Wallace, but he still has the Knight Crest in his inventory. This means that you are allowed to use this Knight Crest on Kent or Sane, should they be level 10 or above. Like this. Now, doing this, even at level 10, is significantly better than promoting Wallace. An early promoted Kent or Sane will be a huge asset to you in Eliwood and Hector's story once you get there, and for the rest of Lyn's story. However, this is only available to you on Lyn Hard Mode. Hard Mode is also the one chance you get to see unpromoted Wallace's sprite in combat. So, now that we know all of those unique pros and cons, let's finally talk about Wallace.
I'm Wallace. Anytime I am called upon, I will fight for Kaylin's honor.
Wallace was not kidding when he made that epic speech after promoting. The number of enemies for the rest of Lyn Mode who can hurt Wallace at all can literally be counted on one hand, and one of them is Lundgren himself. Against many regular enemies, Wallace will take no damage and one-shot them in return. He's mainly there as a fallback option if you've lost a lot of characters in this mode. He can kind of solo the rest of it. He's also there to show you how much of a power boost promotion gives. Wallace is a fantastic unit for the rest of Lyn Mode. Emphasis on for the rest of Lyn Mode. Before I start bashing him, I need to get into one positive. Wallace's default Eliwood/Hector stats are as a general, but he will join unpromoted if you use the Knight's Crest on someone else on Lyn Hard Mode. But you can have your cake and eat it too if you use the Knight's Crest on Kent or Sane and then intentionally lose Wallace. He will come back as a general this way. In fact, just like Wrath, he'll come back even better than he would otherwise be. If you do the math on those promotion gains, promoting Wallace in Lyn Mode gives him 17 defense. But if you get his default Eliwood Hector stats, he'll start with 19. So even if you did promote him in Lyn Mode, it's technically still optimal to intentionally lose him before the mode is over. And Lundgren's kind of the only person who can do that. But 2 extra base defense is where the positives end. Wallace rejoins very late in the game, at a point where his defense looks a lot less impressive. And his speed is low enough that even enemies in this game might double him. He also rejoins right before a few maps where low movement is a liability. But here's the other thing. Depending on how you train Lyn, Eliwood, and Hector, you might not get Wallace back at all. The map where Wallace rejoins is only played if the 3 lords' combined levels are below 50. Now, that's entirely reasonable if you don't like training the lords. But if you do, this will completely erase Wallace from Eliwood/Hector mode. And sadly, it's not that big a loss. But for the rest of Lyn Mode, go ham with him and have fun. I know I sure did my first time. So, okay, wait, I just remembered something. If we need to go into options, we're doing this solo thing. We have to turn on Wallace's animations, because oh boy, do I want Wallace's animations on. So, my first time playing this, that whole speech about a giant walks among you and come break your weapons against me. So, that, okay, age 17, you gotta be careful, because Wallace has 15 con. Which can's insane, and I believe, yeah, Flora can pick that up too, but, like, promoted cavalry can't really. So, I'm gonna go ahead and put you there. Meanwhile, actually, I want Florida on the bottom part of the map, because Archer spawned at the top. Take Wallace, drop him there. I think that's in range of the enemy. Because when Wallace says, break your weapons against me, he's not kidding. As I will have mentioned in the bio by now, okay, I do kind of like Lyn to be down here for the start of this, because there are going to be some bandits coming down from the hills. The number of enemies that can hurt Wallace for the rest of Lyn mode can literally be counted on one hand. Wallace is nearly indestructible at this point in the game. And honestly, I feel that that is a very... Okay, you know what? I'm actually going to have Lucius visit this village because it's bothering me. The tutorial for promotion is also kind of teaching you that you can promote at earlier than level 20. A lot of people like to wait until level 20 because that way you get more, you know, stats worth of level ups. And the thing is, in this game, enemies are so weak that promoting early is actually pretty much optimal in the majority of cases. In fact, I am gonna be promoting early in this playthrough. I know that's very weird for me, but I want to show the value of doing that, because this is actually quite a good game for teaching you the value of early promotion. It's a thing that a lot of the fan base has, you know, kind of realized the merits of as things have gone on. Like, you don't actually have to get everybody to level 20. The actual stat benchmarks for being good at combat, you don't need to have all your stats capped by the end of the game. Unless you're Eliwood, Lyn, or Hector fighting the final boss, in which case you kind of pays to have a couple of stats cap, but they're going to do that anyway. So yeah, that's a lot of reinforcements, and also these are ambush spawns, but as you can see here, yeah, no damage, one-shots this guy. So I love this tutorial, because as much as it might seem suboptimal to a lot of people being forced to promote an Armor Knight, I think this is a great way of doing things because it really just sells the power that promotion gives you. Like again, Wallace took no damage and one-shotted that enemy. As, you know, as I hate to repeat myself, but when he says break your weapon, when he challenges the enemies to break their weapons against him, he is not kidding. Like these guys are futilely breaking their own weapons against his sheer might, and like Wallace at this point feels so powerful. And it's just a it's a really great way to sell just how much of a boost promotion gives you, and that you don't need to promote at level 20 to reap the benefits of it. Like honestly, I think this is actually one of this game's best tutorials. Because other games in the series, they don't force you to promote anyone, and in a way, that's probably a good thing. Like, you know, being forced to promote Wallace, it is definitely one of the more egregious examples of hand-holding in this entire tutorial. Okay, I only hit once, but that's fine. And as I've shown off, if you're on hard mode, then you actually aren't forced to promote Wallace, and it's technically more optimal to do so. But yeah, I think you get the idea that it's just like this really sells just how strong promotion is. And I feel like other games in the series, they like which other games do explicitly give you a promotion tutorial? I'm not sure, like, which of them do. Like, usually when you get a promotion item, the game will be like, okay, I guess you can use that if you want to now, and, like, here's how promoting works. But it's never really going to do something like this. It's just, this leaves a very big impact on the player. Now, some may argue that the tutorial has the negative effect of tricking the player into thinking that Armor Knights are good. Which, I suppose you could make that argument. But here's the thing. In this game, not only is Wallace incredible in Lyn mode, but we're going to be getting an Armor Knight in Eliwood/Hector mode, who is also very, very good. So actually, tricking you into thinking Armor Knights are good is actually a positive for this game, because it's one of the few ones where they are. And in a way, okay, so strictly speaking, they're not really good in their own merits. They're good because of who they are. And, well, Wallace is only good for Lyn mode, as I've probably mentioned by now. But still, one thing that's kind of interesting is that, like, even though it is at this point conventional wisdom by hardcore players that Armor Knight's not good and, like, archers aren't good and that stuff, and I've kind of been echoing this in the bios, even though I kind of don't want to, but I sort of have to, I should take Florina off this mountain. She's not doing a great job here, gives enormous amounts of avoid to the enemies. I love how gigantic the axes look. They're almost like meat cleavers. I also love, like, the pulling back the chain there. Yeah, Florina's going to be way better off fighting against those cavaliers than, gotta be careful of those archers, though. I do want to send somebody with a javelin up there. But, yep, the fog's rolling in, and the music has got much more dire. So, I'm surprised there isn't a dedicated tutorial for this, because it's actually fairly, like, involved what's going on right now. I guess, once again, the developers kind of expected that you played Advance Wars by this point, and you know what Fog of War is. So, not only can you only attack enemies that are within your vision range, but also, a few things. One, enemies cheat and can see through the fog, which sucks, but that's just how pretty much every Fire Emblem game is. It's actually not true of Advance Wars Reboot Camp, which is really cool. But two, if you are trying to move through the fog and run into an enemy, you will get stuck and forced to end your turn. And I'm surprised the tutorial doesn't mention that, because it's actually a very important aspect of the Fog of War system. So, I believe it was Lucius found that torch, so I'm going to go ahead and actually use the regular Iron Sword here, because Lyn's still pretty effective against these brigands. Her hit rate, this is one of the only areas where having overkill accuracy actually helps, because these guys are on this plus 40 evade. Yeah, no wonder Florina's struggling. So I might be able to get this to Matthew this turn, although I really do want to heal Florina. I guess she can, like, I want her to fight these knights, though. No, because, you know, the Sonic looked like Night Song. But no, I think I'll use some self-preservation. But before I use the staff, I'm going to take the torch. Because the torch normally extends your vision range, but if you're using it on a thief, it's going to extend their vision range even more, so Matthew plus torch equals fun. And, unless you're caring about Lyn's funds rank, use this torch as much as you want here, because, this is the only Fog of War map in Lyn's story, so no real reason to save it. Okay, so okay, these guys are going to be coming down the mountain soon, and I do want them to get off that mountain soon. But I suppose maybe I can, although Wrath getting hit by both of those guys is probably not the greatest thing in the world. Could try and send Wallace up there. You kind of intended to have Wallace fight Eagler, and in fact there is special boss dialogue for it. So I just don't really want him to get hit by all those cavaliers. 12. I mean, his defense is not terrible. Yeah, I think I will pull him back for a bit. I'm just a little concerned. My main goal is to get Kent to be, like, going around here with the javelin equipped, because there are going to be some archers incoming. But there are also a whole bunch of soldiers that are going to be coming through here. At the very least, Urk is not in danger from getting hit by those bandits yet, because it costs a lot of movement to go over those mountains. I do wish the game told you this, but yeah, there's no terrain movement cost window in this game. But yeah, I do feel like Wallace is the reason why I fell in love with the Armor Knight class in this game so much. Just because, like, it's such a good impression. Also, exact kill, wow. It's just such a good impression of promotion. I do really appreciate this tutorial. And yes, Matthew once again gains the only stat he actually needs. And luck. Luck is kind of nice too. Once again, yeah, break your weapons against him. Even with weapon triangle disadvantage, Wallace takes no damage and one-shots. Just like, He's fun for the rest of Lyn mode. He's not like the best unit in the world later on, mostly because he rejoined so late, and if you go the hard mode route of not using the Knight's Crest on Wallace, you're pretty much dooming him to die when he comes back in Eliwood/Hector's story, so be warned about that. But depending on how you train the Lords, you might not actually get Wallace back. In fact, now's probably the time to talk about that. So, there's a branching chapter later on in the game where if the combined total of all of your Lord's levels is 50 or more, you go to one chapter, but if it is less than 50, then you go to the other variant of that chapter. Now, the other variant of that chapter is, so the variant for if the Lords are above level 50, I personally prefer that chapter significantly. I think it's easier to deal with on a blind playthrough because the below level 50 map has Fog of War. The above level 50 combined level total map does not have Fog of War. And I've seen a lot of, YouTubers say, oh, but the below level 50 map is easy if you know exactly where every single enemy on that map is. Like, come on, don't expect that kind of knowledge out of someone playing blind. I'm sorry, but I just don't agree with that reasoning at all. It's just that whole thing of, like, again, veteran players taking things for granted. It's like, yes, the below level 50 variant of that chapter can be easier, but only if you have complete, perfect knowledge of the exact locations of every single enemy on that map. And, like, why would you if you're playing for the first time? There's no way you would. So I do think if you're a first-time player, then yeah. Also, as a first-time player, I recommend training the Lords, because that way you don't need to worry about them getting sniped by an enemy you didn't see coming, because they have enough HP and defense to not get killed in one hit, as happened with me and with Lyn on my first playthrough. So, yeah. I'd recommend training the Lords, but the thing is, Wallace's re-recruitment only happens on the map where you, where the total level of your Lords is below 50. So, and it is technically better to get because if you get the above level 50 version of that map, then you recruit a different character who is significantly better than Wallace. So, I would recommend getting that version of the map for that reason as well. So, yeah, I'm kind of going into stuff that you don't really technically need to know right now, but it kind of helps to know it. I mean, at the moment, Lyn's the only Lord that we have access to, but, yeah, so having the Lords at a combined total of 50 means you need to get all three of them up until, like, almost level 20 each. So, you kind of do need to train all three. If you're only training two of them, there's no way you can possibly meet that requirement, because, the maximum you'll get them is to a combined level of 40, but, it's still kind of important to know. Okay, how about I put Matthew over here, because, like, the torch effect, just like the pure water, the torch effect goes down by 1 every turn. But, yeah, Matthew now has ridiculous vision range thanks to that. We haven't seen Wrath crit. Oh, no, we actually did see him crit in his introduction, but yeah. Okay, so you're gone. Okay, Wallace. Shame there's not somebody named Gromit in this game. There is a Romit in Path of Radiance, but you know what? Let's let's just skewer this mermaid. Okay, yeah, I guess you can probably blame Wallace for my channel avatar and why I'm so obsessed with Armor Knights, but like it's just that's just kind of the thing as well. Like, one thing that I wanted to mention is that, like, going into topics about, hardcore players and, all of that, it's kind of easy to take for granted, like, the hardcore playstyle, but, in that developer interview from 2003 that I found from this game, the developers said that they were satisfied with this game's unit balance, because almost every character got used a decent amount in playtesting, from Pegasus Knights to Armor Knights. So it just kind of goes to show you that the kind of hardcore playstyle of, like, only using cavalry and pre-promotes and all that, it's not actually the be-all, end-all way to play this game, and the majority of casual players probably won't play that way. I think it's something that Cher Conroy has talked about on the Runaway Guys a few times, that, like, like, you know, the Fire Emblem fandom says that Armor Knights are banned, but a lot of the reasons why they are considered banned by hardcore fans are, like, they have low movement, but, like, that only applies if you're trying to, like, go fast through the map. And I know that I've seen arguments that are like, you can turn movement into attack or defense, but you can't turn attack or defense into movement. That just sounds kind of, I don't know, a little pretentious to me. I get what they're saying, but still. The thing is that to a first-time player, having a character, like a unit, who can reliably take no damage from most enemies is actually it's a very useful thing to have. Because when you don't know what's coming, and you're not particularly concerned with playing through maps quickly, then, of course, you're gonna fall back on somebody who, you know, doesn't take a lot of damage. So, yeah, like, that's why I kind of feel like, you know, this tutorial convincing you that Wallace is good is, like, not exactly that much of a bad thing. And it's another thing as well, like, the reason why Pegasus Knights are considered good, as well, are things that aren't really that obvious to people who are just starting out, particularly when it comes to rescue chains. Like, it's actually kind of an issue that I have with Vanessa in Sacred Stones, to talk about a different game. Like Vanessa, kind of part of Vanessa in my mind takes, unlike Florina, who can kind of coast off the enemies being weak, Vanessa does actually take a while to get going as a good combat unit. The main reason why people think that Vanessa is a good unit in Sacred Stones is because she enables these incredibly convoluted rescue drop chains that a new player will have absolutely no idea how to actually do. And like, as somebody who's been playing this series for years, like, even I had more to learn, sorry, Heisme. Even I am not good at doing rescue chains. I'm kind of better at it now than I used to be. For example, I could probably try rescue chaining Nils a little bit here with Wrath and, but, like, what reason would I want to do to rescue chain Nils? I mean, actually, could I try and rescue chain? I mean, honestly, I think I'm going to be getting Wallace further in the map by just having him walk. But I could try and rescue chain Wallace, for example. Okay, I kind of want to send Kent and Sane down here, because both Kent and Sane have special boss dialogue with Eagler. He has special dialogue with Kent, Sane, Wallace, and I think also Lyn. Honest Man always treated us well. Ah. Oh, that sucks. Unfortunately, there's no way we can, like... I mean, it would be kind of cool if there was, like, a side quest you could do to rescue his family, and then you don't have to fight him. But, unfortunately, that is not the case. I do know of at least one of the strategy game that does actually do that, but it's, like, kind of technically a spoiler. I mean, okay, speaking of rescue chains, I am gonna need to rescue chain Lyn big time after she deals with this bandit, so... You know what? I'm gonna equip the Manicardi just to try and one-round that guy, because I don't want to waste any more time. I want to get Lyn over here ASAP, but let's send Wallace down here. I almost called him Wally, but, like, I feel like nobody's on a Wally name basis with him. I highly doubt anybody's on that basis with him. I had a great uncle named Wally, actually. Went to his house sometimes for Christmases. We just called him Uncle Wally. I think he was one of the first family members that I explicitly kind of found out passed away. I mean, he was old, and he also smoked a lot, so... I'm honestly surprised that he made it to the age that he did. He made it to his 80s despite smoking, but still don't consider that an endorsement of smoking because he had a lot of lung complications. Anyway, let's not talk about depressing stuff. Let's talk about the fact that Wallace takes no damage and one-shots this guy. Again, it's just, like, the fact that Wallace is kind of set up so that he one-shots a lot of these enemies, it just really does sell how powerful promotion is. And the fact that you're also facing your first promoted enemy, too? Okay, that's convenient. Because she may have missed one of the attacks. It's just generally, like, I do like the tutorial of this chapter. And there's a Fog of War tutorial that's not bad either. So yeah, let's get Lyn over there. Wrath, rescue, move there. I don't think Nils is going to get involved in this rescue chain, unfortunately. I mean, he might be able to play for Sarah. I think I'm gonna be doing most of the Nils grind in the last map, because this music is a little depressing to grind Nils to. Okay, good, one more magic. I believe the heal staff heals for 10 plus your magic stat. It's not like it's a formula based on your magic stat. I initially thought it was that, but no, it's actually based on your, it just adds to your magic stat. Can I, like, rescue drop Kent, maybe? I don't know, maybe I'll do that like next turn. But yeah, I think we've dealt with most of the enemies besides Eagle. The thing is, if you go to the status screen, yeah, on Fog of War maps, the game won't actually tell you how many enemies are left, which Advance Wars also does that. So yeah, Lyn goes there, and then, I don't strictly want Wallace to fight Eagle, though, because Wallace isn't going to be getting a whole lot of experience, but let's go with the, I'm going to do the Islands, because I want to show off that maybe Eagle is one of the few things that can actually, damage Wallace in Lyn mode. It's like exactly 3 enemies that can, and one of them is Lundergundan himself. And another one is a mage, so it's pretty funny just how almost unkillable he is. I mean, it is possible to lose him. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, in my first playthrough, I did actually beat him with Wallace. It just felt fitting to me. That, and I was totally obsessed with Wallace because Armor Knights are cool. I mean, they were cool to me the moment this happened. I mean, I always kind of liked the Knight in Armor aesthetic thanks to Age of Empires, but this was kind of what really solidified it because, like, this chapter specifically. So yeah, if it weren't for this chapter, I probably wouldn't have the username that I do because, for those who don't know, yeah, this is a less silly story to talk about than the Ding Dong story. The Ding Dong story. You'll see. Trust me, you'll see. Okay, yeah, let's just do that. I'm gonna get Kent and Sand into position. I almost kind of want Kent to be the one who finishes this. Because, like, it's not that vital that Lyn gets above level 10 this early because I'm actually not going for that in this one. So yeah, I am going to be training Lyn and Hector in this file, but I won't be going for that thing. And, so, in order to facilitate this, okay, kind of got ahead of myself a little bit. I don't want to talk about that now, but yeah, let's go with the Iron Axe here. Yeah, so the only way Eagle can even hurt Wallace is if he has Weapon Triangle on him. Yes, being in this giant bulky armor also doesn't stop Wallace from dodging. But anyway, yeah, for those who don't know the origin of my username, because some of you watching might not, whenever, it's not so much in this game, but in Path of Radiance, the way that Armor Knights sound when they walk. Like, in my head, the onomatopoeia that I made for that was clingy, 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 clingy. Like, it was the sound their arm makes when they're walking. It was a kind of an in-joke that I did with my sister when we played this. And so I called... Clingy was my name for the Armor Knight class, after that. And so they promote to generals, which are bigger, so I call them Big Clingies. That's where my username comes from. I like how badly Sane verbally owns this guy. Both Kent and Sane do that. Unfortunately, they get two-shotted, at least with the stats I have on them, and have horrendously low accuracy with javelins, but still. I don't really foresee Kent doing well with an Iron Sword against him. However, now that Eagle has equipped that axe, I can actually send Lyn in if I want to. You know what? Actually, hang on. Might have to give this back later, but make sure that I canto him away, otherwise things could go badly. But yeah, Wallace can use his javelin now, although it's not particularly effective, but I mean, at least it's like damage. If it hits, at least. Yeah, for some reason, the animation of generals using javelins feels a little incomplete. Like, they sort of rear back, and they throw, but then they just instantly just snap to throwing the javelin. It's weird. I almost use the armor slayer, and then I'm like, oh wait, no, actually. Don't do that because he's not armored. Great Knights weren't a thing. I mean, they did exist, though. They were in Genealogy and Thracia, but, they are not in the only GBA game they're in is Sacred Stones. I do love it when Fire Emblem games have a good variety of special boss dialogue. Like, I was gonna say I miss it, but, like, there's actually a decent amount of special boss conversations in Engage, and I presume there's gonna be a few of them in Fortune's Weave as well. I still love, like, that's a spoiler for Engage. One of the last Engage characters fighting Zephyr in the final battle has just such an amazing line, against them. Had a feeling that might happen. Okay, for this reason, I have Florina Evac. Let's go. This is another reason, like, why people like Pegasus Knights, because they do that. Because, like, this is the thing about the rescue mechanic, though, as well. Like, it's kind of designed, like, true to its name. It's supposed to be for getting people out of danger, but, like, what it's actually used for among hardcore Fire Emblem fans is to just, like, move people further in the map. So, actually, that's doable. I did say that I was going to have Kent or Sane do it, but at this point, I feel like it's probably a little better if, I do this. Yeah, I should have enough Manikata uses. Yeah, here we go. She is actually, getting special dialogue. So again, like this guy is pretty fleshed out for a boss, which is pretty fitting for the first promoted boss we're facing. Oh, it would have been awesome if she crit there. She gonna crit this time? No, but she still did it. Sadly, yeah, the only way he could help us is by dying. That's not a great level up, but it's fine. I guess Lyn was too depressed over that to, you know, think about getting stronger at this point. But, okay, anyway, just make sure I get some more flute experience, and... I mean, I could just get Nils one more level on this map. Kind of feels fitting to do so. And yeah, it's only player phase, which basically says that I've defeated all the enemies in this map. And that is 4 levels down, 3 more to go on Nils. And now we can end this. Of course, we are using it. I do like how a lot of the games have, like, a regular victory theme and a sad victory theme. Because, you know, a lot of chapters in Fire Emblem do end on a bittersweet note. Yeah, I don't think it's ever revealed who that is. Yep, next chapter is our final battle. And, yeah, the fog's even rolled over Castle Kalen. Oh, this means I get to do the voice again. How are you feeling today, my dear brother? Your granddaughter is dead by now, and soon you will join her. Have you lost all hope? Has your life lost all meaning? Then hurry up and die, you miserable old dotard! You and your precious granddaughter are in my way! I curse your name! I despise you! My worthless wretch of a brother! And, yeah, that's basically all we get, but I'll see you next time when we finally take down Lord Lundergunden and finish Lyn's story.